It's going to be good news for the UK this week as inflation data for the month of April is published, and it's likely to show inflation back at target. We're going to dive into what's driving that and also wider releases for the UK for the rest of the week. Good morning everyone and welcome back to Morning Markets. It's Monday the 20th of May. We're going to review the week given the importance for the UK and for inflation data which comes on Wednesday. We know the UK has been on a disinflation impulse for well over a year. That is, inflation peaked towards the end of 2022 and has been gradually declining for the last 18 months. We're likely to see a momentous print this week when base effects from new energy prices and falling food prices feed into the publication for the month of April. And it's likely to see inflation back to target. In fact, there may be room for a downside surprise given we're seeing slowing price pressures away from energy markets and away from food markets. Places like high street retail sales are showing some modest price declines as well. So there is room for an upbeat downside surprise, if that makes sense, and markets may be cheered by a new, slower impulse for inflation in the UK. So that's what happens on Wednesday. But where there are some price pressures remains in the services industry. So we're unlikely to see core inflation, this measure of sticky prices, fall as much as the headline number. But the trend is still there, which is a year-on-year decline in price pressures. And the Bank of England seems set to cut rates modestly in the summer in reaction to these falling price pressures. And we're likely to see an even more modest decline next month as well as these base effects continue to unwind. So it's good news for the UK, and the UK is set to have one of the lowest inflation impulses in the G7, having ended 2022 with one of the highest inflation impulses. So it's good news there. Elsewhere for this week, we're likely to see public borrowing data released for the UK. It's unlikely to move markets that much, but it will likely show that government continues to borrow to finance day-on-day spending, and there's very little reduction in the deficit here. And we'll end the week with retail sales. Now, the UK consumer is largely in a prudent mode at the moment. Real sales adjusted for price rises have flatlined since COVID began. The UK household on average is choosing to increase savings rather than increase consumption in the face of these unusual price rises we've seen through 2021 and 2022. This is very much a European phenomenon, unlike in the US, where the US consumer has continued to spend and increase spending year on year. So we've got a much more canny savour here in the UK, but they're likely to be cheered by the new inflation data, which shows that price pressures continue to decline and that we're back to target. That's all for today, but please join us tomorrow for another update. Thank you.